Hello and welcome to Learning Excel 2016. My name is Mike Henry and this is the sixth video from Chapter 9. We're going to look at the last of the parameters in that financial equation, and that is rate. What can we change in the rate that will change the outcome of our loan or the outcome of our future investments? So we're going to reverse the process here, and we're going to work with our investment to the future first. Now we've seen in here we've changed multiple things. We first found our payment, and then we found our payment was too large, so we decided let's figure out what we get for an investment goal. So we figured out the future value. Then we figured out what we could do for the number of payments, and then we changed the present value. So the last thing that we can do for a parameter that we can change in this equation is we can go shop our rate. We can go find a bank. Maybe there's another bank or financial institution that will give you a better annual rate than 8%. And we need to figure out first, what will we need for a rate before we go shopping to other banks? So we know we have the 400,000, we need the 1.8, we know we can put this away, and the marketing department keeps harping we need it in 18 months. So what we need to do is change the rate. Now, you have an annual rate and a rate per month, and it's very important you pick the right rate. And actually, we've been dealing with rate per period every time throughout this, and here is where we're going to do rate. Rate is about the period. So we put in here our formula rate, and that's the one we're going to be going after. And I bring this down just like I've done every time, and we fill in the parts and components. So we know that the number of periods is here, our payment is here, present value of our money is right there, and the future is still 1.8 million that we're looking for. So what this is saying is we need to figure out a rate of 2.24 per period. Per period you go, well that's great, but what does that mean for an annual rate? So to figure out our annual rate, we come over here and we just take the rate per period and we multiply times the number of payments. In this case it's the number of months, and we need to go find a bank that's going to give us a 26.94% return on our money. Unfortunately, you probably won't find a bank around right now that's going to give you that kind of return, and if you do, you're obligated to call your instructor and tell them where you're getting that rate so your instructor too can borrow money at that rate. That would be an incredibly good deal. But what you're seeing here is that we can change the rate per month. We can go shop and see if we can get a better deal. Now coming back to the scenario from the book, you can see that they don't even address rate as one of the possible scenarios, and I think that's a shame. You're going to see I'm going to force it into this and we'll see why they didn't address rate, but I think it's something that we should always address and take a look at. So you can see as I put the rate in here, you can see we have that loan still at 400,000. We're still paying it off, still a 5-year, and we're going to have 20 payments here. Obviously the rate is going to be what we're going to adjust here, and we still have a negative 20,000 that we're going to be putting away each time. And let me just pull it down this way so you have your nice negative figure in here. So when we figure out the rate here, and you'll see that I do my equal rate and I plug that into play, what you're going to see is all of the same parts and components are here. We have the number of payments, which is right here, 20. We have the payment, 20,000. We have the present value that we have, 400 for the loan amount, and the future is going to be 0. We're going to pay this off in total. And so when you look at this, you go, well, wait a minute, that's a rate of 0. You go, wow, that seems a little bit different. And you go, well, maybe if I might have some decimal places in here, so I'll add in some decimals, and you're not seeing those decimals. And you go, well, maybe if I bring it out to the annual rate, it'll show up higher. So to figure out the annual rate, you would take the rate per quarter, and you would multiply that times the number of payments. So obviously I put that rate in there. There's 4 payments. And I'm still getting a 0. And if you step back and you go, does this make sense? It actually makes a lot of sense. Because if you've got 20,000 and you are going to make 20 payments at 20,000, that equals 400,000 straight up. In other words, the bank wouldn't get any interest on this. You would just pay them back only the principal. And a bank isn't going to do that. They're not going to give you a loan and say you don't have any interest on it. So that's why they did not put this scenario in here, and that would not make sense. Now, if we were going to use a lesser payment in here, so we have a payment in here, let's say we're only going to do 19,000 per year. So now you can see at 19,000 there is an interest rate that starts appearing here. Obviously, again, that's a very, very low interest rate that a bank is not going to probably give you that kind of interest rate. And if you really take a look at it, you go, wait a minute, that's a negative interest rate. In other words, the bank is giving you money on this deal. So if you think about it this way, we raise the payment, and now you're paying a little bit more than the 20,000. Now the bank is getting that interest rate instead of you were getting the interest rate. So you can see that that's a positive. So understanding that positive negative piece is very important. But you can see that they didn't leave us a big window of opportunity here to pay more for this. So that's very important to understand. Rate is something that you should always look at changing. The particular scenario that they set up in the book doesn't really work the best for that, but I think it's important that we always take a look at rate. So we looked at the last parameter of the financial formula, which was rate, and we did it a little bit backwards because the first one made a lot more sense. We were out there shopping our rate to multiple banks to see what would get us the best deal. In the second scenario, we saw that you were paying off basically the loan straight, and you weren't actually gonna get any interest on this deal. No bank would take that deal. So you can see that the scenario wasn't the best one to look at rate. We did change it a little bit so we could see what a negative interest rate would be. In other words, the bank was paying you to borrow their money. If you can find that deal, that's a great deal. Take it. The other one, when we raised the payment up a little bit, then you could see where, oh, here's a scenario where we are not we're paying the bank to borrow some of their money. Obviously, it was such a small interest rate that the bank would probably say, no, I don't think that that's going to work for me. So you can see the balance of what we were trying to show with rate there.